Maya Collins pressed her face against the small window of the transport ship. Stars filled the dark space around them, more stars than she had ever seen from Earth. The Horizon Star was 3 days away from the Galactic Defense Academy, and Maya still could not believe she was really going there. She was the first human ever accepted into the Academy. Earth had only joined the galactic community 5 years ago. Most alien species still thought humans were weak and primitive. Maya wanted to prove them wrong. The transport ship was huge, carrying cadets from dozens of different worlds. Maya had spent most of the trip in her small room, reading Academy handbooks and trying to prepare. She knew she would be different from everyone else. She just hoped she would be good enough. A soft chime filled the air. The ship's computer spoke in a calm voice. All passengers, please prepare for arrival at the Galactic Defense Academy. Docking will begin in 30 minutes. Maya grabbed her single bag and walked to the main viewing area. Other cadets were already there, talking in groups. She saw creatures she had only read about in books. There was a tall being made of what looked like living crystal, its body catching and reflecting the starlight. Near the window stood something that reminded Maya of a giant ant, but it wore a military uniform and carried itself like a soldier. A few cadets looked at Maya with curious eyes. She tried to smile, but most of them looked away quickly. She understood. To them, she was from a backward world, probably not smart enough or strong enough to make it through academy training. The docking process took 20 minutes. Maya felt the ship shake slightly as it connected to the academy station. Through the windows, she could see the massive structure. It looked like a small city floating in space, with different sections connected by long tubes and bridges. "Welcome to the Galactic Defense Academy," announced the computer. "Please proceed to the main airlock in an orderly fashion. Your room. Assignments and schedules are available at the reception area." Maya followed the crowd of cadets through the airlock and into the academy. The main reception area was enormous, with a ceiling so high she could barely see it. Hundreds of cadets moved around, some arriving like her, others who had been there longer wearing academy uniforms. She walked to one of the reception desks, where a blue-skinned alien with 4 arms was handing out information packets. The alien looked at a screen, then at Maya. "Maya Collins from Earth," the alien said. Its voice sounded like music. "Room 247, Section C. Your roommate is Zara from Viridian Prime. Here is your schedule and academy handbook." Maya took the packet and followed the signs toward Section C. The hallways were wide and clean, with windows showing views of space. She passed other cadets who moved in ways that seemed impossible. One floated a few inches off the ground. Another seemed to change colors as it walked. Room 247 was smaller than Maya had expected, but it had 2 beds, 2 desks, and a small window. One bed already had personal items on it. As Maya set her bag down on the empty bed, the door opened. Her roommate walked in, and Maya tried not to stare. Zara looked like she was made of living glass or crystal. She was about Maya's height, but much thinner, and light seemed to move through her body in beautiful patterns. "You must be Maya," Zara said. Her voice was soft and had a musical quality. "I am Zara. I have never met a human before." "Nice to meet you," Maya said. "I have never met anyone from Viridian Prime either." Zara sat carefully on her bed. "I have. Read about Earth. It sounds like a very dangerous place. How do humans survive with so many predators and harsh weather?" Maya was not sure how to answer. On Earth, dealing with dangerous animals and bad weather was just normal life. "We adapt, I guess. We learn to be careful and work together." "Fascinating," Zara said. "On my world, we control the weather and there are no dangerous animals. Everything is peaceful and organized." Before Maya could respond, a loud sound filled The hallway. It was not an alarm, but some kind of announcement tone. All new cadets report to Training Bay 7 for orientation, came a voice over the Academy's communication system. Orientation begins in 15 minutes. Maya and Zara grabbed their handbooks and left their room. The hallways were now full of cadets heading in the same direction. Maya noticed that many of them moved in groups based on their species. The crystal beings stayed together, as did the insect-like aliens and others. Training Bay 7 was huge, with a high ceiling and equipment Maya did not recognize. About 200 cadets filled the space, sitting on long benches. Maya and Zara found seats near the back. A massive figure walked onto the platform at the front of the bay. It was at least 8 feet tall, with a hard shell covering its body and multiple arms. Its head was triangular, with large compound eyes that seemed to look in all directions at once. "I am Commander Thex of the Hive Collective," the figure announced. Its voice was deep and carried easily through the large space. "I will be your primary training officer for the next 6 months." Commander Thex looked out over the cadets. "You come from many different worlds, with different strengths and abilities. Some of you are fast, some are strong, some are intelligent. All of these things matter, but they are not enough." The commander began walking back and forth on the platform. "The galaxy is dangerous. There are pirates, hostile species, and unknown threats in unexplored space. The Galactic Defense Force protects peaceful worlds and innocent beings. To do this job, you must be more than just strong or fast or smart. You must be adaptable." Maya listened carefully. This was exactly what she had hoped to hear. Humans were good at adapting. "Your training will test every ability you have, Commander." Thex continued. "Physical strength, mental ability, tactical thinking, teamwork, and survival skills. Many of you will not complete the program. This is not because you are weak, but because this job requires everything you have to give." The commander stopped walking and looked directly at the cadets. "Tomorrow, your real training begins. Tonight, rest well. Study your handbooks. Get to know your fellow cadets. In 6 months, those of you who succeed will be ready to protect the galaxy." As the orientation ended, cadets began leaving the training bay in small groups. Maya noticed that several alien cadets were looking at her with what seemed like curiosity or doubt. She heard one group talking in a language she did not understand, but their gestures toward her made their meaning clear. "They are wondering if humans are really capable of military service," Zara said quietly as they walked back toward their room. "What do you think?" Maya asked. Zara was quiet for a moment. "I think there must be a reason you were accepted. The Academy does not make mistakes about these things." Back in their room, Maya read through her training schedule. Physical conditioning, weapons training, tactical analysis, survival skills, teamwork exercises, and something called adaptive problem solving. It looks challenging, but not impossible. As she prepared for bed, Maya thought about what Commander Thex had said about being adaptable. Humans had been adapting for thousands of years. They had survived ice ages, predators, diseases, and countless other challenges. Maybe that experience would be useful here. She looked out the small window, at the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth, where humans dealt with dangerous animals, extreme weather, and hostile environments every single day. Maya had grown up camping in forests full of bears and wolves. She had hiked in deserts where the heat could kill, and mountains where the cold was deadly. Tomorrow would be her first real test. She was ready to show everyone what a human could do. 3 weeks had passed since Maya arrived at the academy. The training was hard, but not as hard as she had expected. What the other cadets called extreme challenges felt normal to her. When they had to sleep in cold rooms, Maya was comfortable. When they trained in dim light, She could see clearly. When the instructors made them run long distances carrying heavy packs, Maya finished with energy to spare. Her fellow cadets noticed. Some seemed impressed, others seemed suspicious. Maya tried not to stand out too much. She did not want anyone to think she was showing off. Jake Morrison had arrived 2 weeks after Maya. He was the second human at the academy, a tall young man from the mountains of Colorado. Like Maya, he found the training easier than expected. They often studied together, sharing stories about Earth and helping each other with the more technical subjects. I do not understand why everyone acts like the survival training is so difficult, Jake said one evening as they sat in the academy's common area. Yesterday, they made us navigate through a forest at night, and half the cadets were terrified. Back home, I used to hunt deer in conditions twice as dark. Maya nodded. I think we take for granted how dangerous Earth is. Most of these worlds are safe, really safe. Zara joined them at their table, her crystal body glowing softly in the dim light. Maya, Jake, I have been curious about something. When you talk about your home world, you mention dangerous animals and harsh conditions. But you both seem so calm about it. Are humans not afraid of these things? Maya thought about how to explain. We are afraid, but we learn to manage the fear. On Earth, if you cannot handle dangerous situations, you do not survive long enough to have children. So humans who could adapt and stay calm in danger were the ones who lived. That is horrible, said another cadet who had been listening. This was Corin, a tall, thin being from a world where everything was carefully controlled. Why would anyone choose to live in such conditions? We did not choose it, Jake said. It is just where we evolved. Earth made us this way. Commander Thex appeared at their table, his massive form casting a shadow over them. Collins, Morrison, and the rest of Squad 7 report to the briefing room immediately. You have a real mission. The cadets looked at each other with surprise. Real missions were usually reserved for advanced students who had been at the academy for at least a year. In the briefing room, Commander Thex stood in front of a large screen showing a star system. The research station on Kepler 442c has gone. Silent. The last transmission mentioned unknown creatures attacking their camp. A team of scientists studying ancient ruins has been missing for 2 days. The screen showed images of a world covered in thick forests and mountains. It looked wild and untamed, nothing like the organized worlds most cadets came from. Squad 7 will investigate and locate the missing scientists, Commander Thex continued. This is a real mission with real dangers. However, a full military unit will be standing by to assist if needed. Consider this advanced training. Maya studied the images of Kepler 442c. The world looked beautiful but dangerous, like many places on Earth. Dense forests, rough terrain, and what appeared to be an active ecosystem with large predators. Sir, asked Corin, what kind of creatures were mentioned in the last transmission? Unknown, Commander Thex replied. The scientists called them shadow creatures. They appeared to be intelligent, moving in coordinated groups. No clear visual data was obtained before contact was lost. After the briefing, Squad 7 prepared for departure. Besides Maya, Jake, Zara, and Corin, the squad included 2 other alien cadets, Vex, a reptilian being known for quick reflexes, and Neron, who could change the color of his skin for camouflage. The transport ship that carried them to Kepler 442c was smaller than the Horizon Star, designed for military operations rather than passenger comfort. Maya spent the 3-day journey studying everything she could find about the planet. It had Earth-like gravity and atmosphere, but the wildlife data was limited. I do not like this, Zara said as they approached the planet. My people are not designed for wild environments. What if these shadow creatures are hostile? Then we deal with them, Maya said simply. That is what we are training for. Jake was checking his equipment for the third time. The important thing is to find the scientists and get them to safety. Everything else is secondary. The planet looked even more intimidating as they descended through the atmosphere. Thick clouds covered much of the surface, and the forests seemed to stretch endlessly in all directions. Maya could see why most galactic species would find this world frightening. They landed near the research station, which sat in a clearing surrounded by tall trees. The buildings appeared intact, but there were no signs of life. No lights, no movement, no response to their communication attempts. Commander Vex had remained on the transport as backup, but the squad was on their own for the initial investigation. Maya took point as they approached the main building, with Jake covering the rear and the others spread out between them. The research station was eerily quiet. Personal belongings were scattered around, and meal preparations had been left half-finished. It looked like the scientists had left quickly, but there were no signs of violence or struggle. Whatever happened, they had time to grab emergency supplies, Jake observed, pointing to empty storage lockers. But they left everything else behind. Maya knelt down near the entrance, studying the ground carefully. There were footprints from the scientists, but also other marks she did not recognize. Large paw prints, too big for any Earth animal she knew, with claw marks that suggested powerful predators. "We are being watched," she said quietly. The other cadets looked around nervously. "How do you know?" Vex asked. Maya pointed to disturbed vegetation at the edge of the clearing. "Something large has been moving through those bushes recently. The broken branches are fresh, maybe a few hours old, and there is a scent in the air, like wet dog but stronger." The squad spent the rest of the day searching the area around the research station. They found more tracks leading deeper into the forest, along with equipment that had been dropped during what appeared to be a hasty retreat. As evening approached, Maya insisted they set up a defensive perimeter around their landing site. The other cadets thought she was being overly cautious, but Jake supported her suggestion. "On Earth, predators usually hunt at night," Maya explained as they arranged their equipment. "If these shadow creatures are intelligent, they will probably wait until dark to make their move." "You are assuming they are hostile," Corin said. "Perhaps they were simply curious about the scientists." Maya was setting up motion sensors around their camp. "Maybe, but scared scientists do not abandon a research station unless they have a good reason." As darkness fell over the planet, the forest came alive with sounds. Strange calls echoed through the trees, and the cadets could hear large animals moving in the distance. Maya felt alert but not afraid. This reminded her of camping trips in Earth's wilderness areas. Zara was having a much harder time. Her crystal body glowed more brightly when she was nervous, making her an easy target. The other cadets were also clearly uncomfortable with the wild environment and unknown dangers. "I cannot see anything," Vex complained. "The darkness is complete." Maya and Jake exchanged looks. To them, the night was not completely dark. They could make out shapes and movement that their alien teammates could not see. "Stay close to the camp perimeter," Maya advised. "Keep your weapons ready, but do not shoot unless you are sure of your target." The attack came just after midnight. Maya saw them first, large, wolf-like creatures moving silently through the trees. They seemed to blend with the shadows, appearing and disappearing as they circled the camp. "Contact," Maya said quietly into her communicator. "Multiple hostiles approaching from all directions." The shadow creatures were bigger than earth wolves, with intelligent eyes that reflected the light from the camp. Maya counted at least 6 of them, moving with the coordination of a hunting pack. They were testing the camp's defenses, looking for weaknesses. One of the creatures stepped into the light at the edge of the clearing. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time, with dark fur that seemed to absorb light. and powerful muscles that spoke of deadly speed and strength. The other cadets raised their weapons, but Maya held up her hand. Wait, they are not attacking. Yet they are studying us. Studying us for what? Zara whispered, her body now glowing bright enough to light up half the camp. To see if we are prey or predators, Jake answered. The lead shadow creature tilted its head, as if considering Jake's words. Then it made a sound that was part howl, part growl, and completely alien. The other creatures answered from different positions around the camp. They are communicating, Maya realized. This is a coordinated hunt. The creatures began moving closer, staying just outside the range of the camp's lights. Maya could see their strategy. They were trying to force the squad into a smaller and smaller area, cutting off escape routes and creating panic. They are intelligent, she said to her squad mates. This is not just animal behavior. They are using tactics. As if responding to her words, 3 of the creatures suddenly charged the camp from different directions. The coordinated attack was designed to overwhelm the defenders and create chaos. Maya's training kicked in, but it was not Akka. The shadow creatures hit the camp like a storm. 3 of them charged from different directions, while the others circled, looking for openings. Maya's squadmates began firing their weapons, but the creatures were fast and smart, using the darkness and trees as cover. They are trying to split us up, Maya shouted over the sound of weapons fire. Stay together and keep moving. One of the creatures leaped over their defensive barrier, landing in the middle of the camp. Vex tried to shoot it, but the reptilian cadet's aim was shaky with fear. The creature knocked him down with one powerful paw and turned toward Zara, whose glowing body made her an easy target. Maya did not think. She acted on instincts that came from millions of years of human evolution. She grabbed a metal rod from their equipment and threw herself between the creature and Zara. The shadow creature was bigger and stronger than her, but Maya had advantages it did not expect on. She moved in ways that confused the creature. Instead of backing away like prey, she stepped forward and to the side, using the creature's own momentum against it. When it tried to bite her, she was not where it expected her to be. When it tried to claw her, she had already moved again. Jake, cover. The left side, Maya called out while dodging another attack. Corin, help Vex get back up. Niran, use your camouflage to get behind them. The other cadets were amazed. Maya was fighting a creature that could easily kill her, but she was doing it with calm precision. She was not panicking or freezing with fear. She was hunting. Jake understood what Maya was doing. He had seen similar tactics used by humans hunting dangerous animals on Earth. Instead of trying to overpower the creatures, Maya was using intelligence and strategy to level the playing field. The pack leader is the big one by the trees, Jake said, pointing to a shadow creature that was directing the others. If we can take him down, the rest might retreat. Maya nodded while continuing to fight the creature in front of her. She had forced it back toward the edge of the camp, where the light was dimmer. I need 2 minutes to get close to their leader. Can you keep the others busy? We will try, Zara said, though her voice was shaking with fear. Maya suddenly changed tactics. Instead of continuing to fight defensively, she went on the attack. She used the metal rod like a spear, forcing the creature to back away from her friends. Then she did something that surprised everyone, including the shadow creatures. She howled Dot. It was not a human sound. It was the challenge call of a predator claiming territory. Maya had learned it from watching nature documentaries about wolves, but she put her own twist on it. The sound carried through the forest, echoing off the trees and reaching every creature within miles. The shadow creatures stopped their attack and looked at her with what appeared to be confusion. They had never heard anything like that sound before. It was the call of something that did not fear them, something that considered itself their equal. "What are you doing? What are you doing?" Corin asked in a whisper. "Changing the rules of the game," Maya replied. She began walking toward the pack leader, still making the strange howling sound. The other creatures moved aside, uncertain how to respond to this new behavior. Maya was no longer acting like prey. She was acting like a competing predator. The pack leader was huge, at least twice the size of the others. Its eyes were intelligent and calculating as it watched Maya approach. She could see it trying to understand what kind of creature she was. Maya stopped about 10 feet away from the leader and fell silent. She stood perfectly still, making eye contact with the creature. This was the most dangerous moment. If the pack leader decided she was a threat, all the creatures would attack at once. But Maya understood something about pack hunters that her academy training had never taught her. Leadership was not just about size or strength. It was about confidence and the willingness to take risks. The pack leader had to decide if Maya was worth fighting. The creature took a step forward, then stopped. Maya took a step forward as well. They were now close enough that the creature could kill her with one leap, but Maya did not back down. She had learned this from watching her father deal with aggressive dogs back on Earth. Sometimes showing fear was more dangerous than standing your ground. "Maya, get back here," Jake called out, but she did not move. The pack leader made a low growling sound, testing Maya's resolve. She responded with a sound of her own, not quite a growl, but not quite human either. It was the sound of something that had also learned to survive in a dangerous world. For a long moment, the two predators studied each other. Then the pack leader did something unexpected. It sat down. Maya very slowly sat down as well, never breaking eye contact with the creature. They were now having a conversation that had nothing to do with words. It was the ancient language of predators establishing territory and respect. The other shadow creatures watched this exchange with what appeared to be fascination. They had never seen their leader treat another creature as an equal before. Maya began to speak in a quiet, calm voice. "I know you can understand me, even if you cannot speak our language. We are not here to take your territory or hurt your pack. We are looking for some people who got lost in your forest." The pack leader tilted its head, listening to her words and tone. Maya continued, "These people are not hunters like us. They are weak and scared. They probably ran deeper into the forest when they saw you." She slowly reached into her pack and pulled out a piece of food. Not a weapon, not a tool, but an offering. She tossed it gently toward the pack leader, who sniffed it carefully before eating it. "My name is Maya," she said. "I come from a world where creatures like you and creatures like me learned to share the same territory. Sometimes we fought, but sometimes we helped each other." The pack leader made a soft sound that might have been acknowledgement. Then it stood up and walked to the edge of the clearing. It looked back at Maya once, then disappeared into the forest. The other creatures followed, leaving the camp as quietly as they had arrived. Maya's squadmates stared at her in amazement. "How did you do that?" Zara asked. "I treated them like intelligent beings instead of monsters," Maya replied. "They were not trying to eat us. They were protecting their territory from invaders." Jake helped her stand up. "Do you think they will help us find the scientists?" "Maybe. Or maybe they will just leave us alone while we search. Either way, it is better than fighting them all." Night. The rest of the night passed quietly. Maya set up a watch schedule, but the creatures did not return. As dawn broke over the forest, she began preparing for the search mission. "We need to think like the scientists," she said, as the squad gathered around a map of the area. They were studying ancient ruins. Where would they go if they were scared and needed to hide? Corinne pointed to a location on the map. "There is a cave system about 3 miles from here. The ruins they were studying are nearby." "That makes sense," Jake agreed. Caves would provide shelter and protection from the creatures. As they prepared to leave the camp, Maya noticed movement at the edge of the forest. The pack leader was there, watching them. When it saw her looking, it turned and began walking deeper into the woods. "I think it wants us to follow," Maya said. The other cadets looked uncertain. "Are you sure that is wise?" Vex asked. Maya shouldered her pack. "It knows this forest better than we do, and it knows where the scientists are hiding." They followed the shadow creature through the forest for 2 hours. It moved slowly enough for them to keep up, occasionally stopping to make sure they were still behind it. Maya noticed that it was leading them along paths that avoided the most dangerous areas of the forest. Finally, they reached a series of rocky hills with several cave entrances. The pack leader stopped and looked back at Maya, then disappeared into the shadows. "The scientists must be in there," Jake said, studying the caves. They found the research team in the 3rd cave they searched. 7 scientists huddled around a small fire, looking tired and scared but alive. When they saw academy uniforms, they almost cried with relief. "Thank goodness you found us," said Dr. Linda Park, the team leader. "We have been hiding here for 3 days. Those creatures kept prowling around outside the caves. Are any of you injured?" Maya asked, checking each scientist for wounds. "No, just scared and hungry," Dr. Park replied. "The creatures never actually attacked us. They just watched. It was terrifying." As they prepared to escort the scientists back to the landing site, Maya thought about what had happened. The shadow creatures had not been trying to hurt the scientists. They had been curious about the strangers in their territory, but the scientists had interpreted their interest as aggression. "Dr. Park," Maya said, "what exactly happened at the research station?" The scientist looked embarrassed. "We were working late when we heard sounds outside. When we looked out, we saw these enormous wolf-like creatures watching us. We panicked and ran for the caves." Maya nodded. "They were probably just investigating. Your lights and sounds were something new in their territory." "You sound like you understand these creatures," Dr. Park said. "I understand predators," Maya replied. "On my world, we learn to live with them." The journey back to the camp took most of the day. The shadow creatures appeared several times, but they kept their distance. Maya realized they were actually escorting the group, making sure. They left their territory safely. When they reached the La. News of the successful mission spread through the academy like wildfire. By the time Maya and her squad returned from Kepler 442c, every cadet and instructor had heard some version of the story. Most versions were exaggerated, making Maya sound like she had single-handedly defeated an army of monsters. Maya tried to stay modest about what had happened. She explained to anyone who would listen that the shadow creatures had not been evil monsters, just territorial predators protecting their home. But the other cadets were more interested in the fact that she had faced down creatures that terrified experienced scientists. "I heard you fought 6 of them at once," said one cadet from the reptilian world of Saurus Prime. "That is not what happened," Maya replied patiently. "I just talked to their pack leader and worked out an understanding." "But you were not afraid," pressed another cadet. "How is that possible?" Maya was getting tired of these conversations. She did not want to be seen as some kind of hero. She had just done what seemed natural at the time. Jake was having similar problems. As the only other human at the academy, everyone expected him to be as fearless and capable as Maya. He handled the attention better than she did, but Maya could see it was making him uncomfortable too. "People are calling us the Deathworld humans," Jake told her one evening as they studied together in the library. "They act like we are some kind of super soldiers." "We are not super soldiers," Maya said. "We are just from a world that taught us different skills." Commander Vex appeared at their table, his massive form casting a shadow over their books. "Collins, Morrison, report to my office immediately." In the commander's office, they found several other instructors waiting for them. Maya recognized the Academy's combat instructor, survival training specialist, and psychological evaluation. "Officer, sit down," Commander Thex said. "We need to discuss your performance on Kepler 442c and what it means for your continued training." Maya felt a knot of worry in her stomach. Were they in trouble for handling the mission differently than expected? "Your actions during the rescue mission have raised some important questions," the combat instructor said. "You demonstrated abilities that were not identified during your initial Academy testing." "We followed standard procedures," Jake said. "Carefully." "No, you did not," the survival training specialist replied. "Standard procedure when facing unknown predators is to establish defensive positions and call for backup. You engaged in direct communication with hostile alien life forms," Maya tried to explain. "They were not hostile. They were just protecting their territory. Once I understood that, it was easier to find a peaceful solution." The psychological evaluation officer leaned forward. "Maya, you showed no fear when facing creatures that could have easily killed you. That is either very brave or very reckless. We need to understand which it was." "I was afraid," Maya said honestly. "But fear can be useful if you do not let it control you. On Earth, humans who panicked when facing predators did not survive long enough to have children. We learned to think clearly, even when scared." Commander Thex studied her for a long moment. "Explain what you mean by that." Maya took a deep breath. "Earth is what galactic surveys classify as a Class 12 death world. Almost every environment on our planet has something that can kill humans. We have predators that hunt in packs, poisonous creatures, extreme weather, natural disasters, and diseases. Humans survived by becoming adaptable." "How adaptable?" the survival instructor asked. Jake answered. "Humans live everywhere on Earth. In deserts, where the heat can kill you in hours. In Arctic regions, where the cold will freeze you solid. In jungles full of creatures that want to eat you. In mountains where the air is too thin to breathe properly. We learned to survive in places that would kill most other species." The instructors exchanged looks. Maya could tell they were having some kind of silent conversation. "There is something else we need to discuss," Commander Thex said finally. "Your performance has attracted attention from other cadets. Some are impressed, but others feel challenged." "Challenged how?" Maya asked. "There is a group of cadets from the Apex Coalition worlds," the combat instructor explained. "These are species that consider themselves the galaxy's natural warriors. They do not like the idea that humans might be better fighters than they are." Maya felt a surge of frustration. "I am not trying to be better than anyone. I just want to complete my training and serve in the Defense Force." "Unfortunately, it may not be that simple," Commander Thex said. "Kazran of Sanguine 7 has formally requested a series of combat trials. He wants to test whether human capabilities are real or just luck." Jake sat up straighter. "What kind of combat trials?" "Individual and team combat scenarios," the psychological officer explained. "They would be supervised and controlled, but they would test your limits against some of the galaxy's most naturally gifted warriors." Maya thought about this. She did not want to fight other cadets just to prove a point, but she also understood that backing down might make things worse for future human cadets. "What happens if we refuse?" she asked. "Nothing officially," Commander Thex replied. "But it would be seen as backing down from a challenge. That could affect how other species view humans in the future." Maya and Jake looked at each other. They both understood what the commander was really saying. This was about more than just Academy politics. This was about Earth's reputation in the galactic community. When would these trials take place? Jake asked. "Next week," the combat instructor said. 3 different scenarios: individual combat, team tactics, and adaptive problem solving under pressure. Who would we be fighting against? Maya wanted to know. Kazran is from Sanguine 7, a world where the dominant species evolved from apex predators. The survival instructor explained. He is twice your size, has natural armor plating, and reflexes that are among the fastest recorded at the Academy. There will also be Thyra from the ice world of Kalos, Commander Thex continued. Her species can move at temperatures that would kill most beings, and they have enhanced sensory abilities that allow them to track prey across vast distances. Maya was starting to understand the scope of what they were facing. These were not just skilled fighters. They were beings whose entire species had evolved to be predators. The third opponent will be Nexus from the hive mind world of Collective Prime, the psychological officer added. It can coordinate with multiple versions of itself and process tactical information faster than most computer systems. Jake whistled. Softly. They really want to make a point, don't they? The question is, Commander Thex said, are you willing to accept this challenge? Maya thought about all the humans who might come to the Academy after her. If she backed down now, they might face even more difficult challenges. But if she accepted and lost badly, it could be just as damaging to Earth's reputation. I need to know something first, she said. Are these trials meant to be fair tests of ability, or are they designed to make humans look weak? The instructor seemed surprised by her directness. The Academy does not rig competitions, Commander Thex said firmly. These will be legitimate tests of combat and tactical ability. However, your opponents have significant natural advantages. Then we accept, Maya said, before Jake could object. The next week of preparation was intense. Maya and Jake trained harder than they ever had before, but they also spent time studying their opponents and thinking about strategy. Kazran is stronger and faster than us, Jake said as they reviewed combat footage. But he is also used to winning through intimidation and brute force. Thera has better senses, but she comes from a world where everything is predictable, Maya added. Earth taught us to adapt to changing conditions. And Nexus can think faster, but it thinks like a computer, Jake concluded. Humans are good at being unpredictable. The combat trials took place in the Academy's main arena, with most of the cadet body watching from the stands. Maya tried not to think about all the eyes on her as she prepared for the first challenge. The individual combat trial would pit her against Kazran in a simulated urban environment. The goal was not to kill or seriously injure, but to demonstrate superior tactical thinking and fighting ability. Kazran stood nearly 8 feet tall, with thick gray skin that looked like natural armor. His 4 arms ended in clawed hands that could probably tear through metal. When he looked at Maya, she could see the confidence in his eyes. He expected this to be easy. Begin simulation, announced the computer. The arena floor transformed into a miniature city, complete with buildings, vehicles, and obstacles. Maya immediately began moving, using the environment to her advantage. She knew she could not match Kazran's strength, so she had to be smarter. Kazran came after her like a charging bull, expecting to end the fight quickly. But Maya was not where he expected her to be. She had climbed onto a building and was now above him, forcing him to look up while she studied his movements. The alien warrior was fast and strong, but he fought like someone who had never faced a truly dangerous opponent. His attacks were powerful but predictable. Maya had learned to fight by watching humans deal with Earth's predators, and those lessons served her well now. She led Kazran through the simulated city using obstacles and terrain to slow him down and tire him out. When he tried to corner her in an alley, she was already climbing the walls. 6 months after graduating from the Academy, Maya stood on the bridge of the defense vessel Starward Bound, watching a convoy of merchant ships move through the dangerous Kepler sector. She wore the uniform of a lieutenant in the Galactic Defense Force, with Jake serving as her second-in-command and several of their former Academy classmates as part of her crew. The Kepler sector had been plagued by pirate attacks for years. Criminal fleets would strike fast and disappear into the asteroid fields before defense forces could respond. Dozens of convoys had been attacked, with millions of credits and cargo stolen, and many civilian crew members killed or captured. "Lieutenant Collins," reported Zara from the communications station, "we are receiving a priority message from convoy vessel, Trader's Hope. They have detected unknown ships approaching on an intercept course." Maya studied the tactical display. 5 ships were moving toward the convoy from behind a large asteroid. The formation and approach vector suggested pirates, but something felt different about this attack. "Analysis, Morrison," Maya requested. Jake consulted his sensors. The approaching ships match the configuration of the Bloodfang pirates, but they are moving more slowly than usual. It is almost like they are hesitating. Maya had an idea why. Word of human capabilities had spread through both military and criminal networks. Pirates who had once attacked any target they could catch were now being more careful about which convoys they chose to raid. "Open a channel to the lead pirate vessel," Maya ordered. "Lieutenant," said Vex from the weapons station, "standard procedure is to warn them away from the convoy, not engage in conversation." "Standard procedure has not been working," Maya replied. "Let me try something different." The main screen showed the bridge of the pirate ship. The captain was a scarred alien with multiple arms and the kind of weapons that suggested he was used to getting what he wanted through violence. "This is Captain Razor of the Bloodfang fleet," the pirate said. "Surrender your convoy, and we will let you live." "This is Lieutenant Maya Collins of the Galactic Defense Force," Maya replied calmly. "You should know that this convoy is under human protection." The pirate captain's expression changed slightly. Maya could see him talking to someone off-screen, probably asking his crew what they knew about humans. "I do not care what species you are," Captain Razor said, but his voice had lost some of its confidence. "We outnumber you 5-1. Numbers are not everything," Maya said. "I am sure you have heard stories about what happened to the Crimson Raiders last month." She was referring to a pirate fleet that had tried to attack a human-protected convoy. The engagement had lasted less than 10 minutes, with 3 pirate ships disabled and the rest fleeing in panic. The story had spread through criminal networks, growing more dramatic with each telling. Captain Razor was clearly uncomfortable now. "Those are just stories, are they?" Maya asked. "I am from Earth, Captain. Do you know what Earth is?" The pirate captain did not answer, but Maya could see him consulting with his crew again. "Earth is a Class 12 death world," Maya continued. "Humans spent millions of years learning to hunt creatures that could kill us with ease. We learned to turn disadvantage into advantage, to find opportunity in chaos, and to make predators think twice before attacking us." On the tactical display, Maya could see the pirate ships slowing down even more. They were still approaching, but with much less confidence than before. "Here's what is going to happen," Maya said, her voice becoming harder. "You are going to turn around and leave this sector. If you attack this convoy, I will hunt you down personally. And I promise you, Captain, that is not a fight you want to have." There was a long silence on the communication channel. Finally, Captain Razor spoke again. "This is not over, human." "Yes, it is," Maya replied simply. The pirate ships began turning away from the convoy. Within minutes, they had disappeared back into the asteroid field. The merchant vessels continued on their route, safe and unmolested. "I cannot believe that worked," said Corin from the navigation station. "Why did it work?" asked Neyron, who was serving as the ship's intelligence officer. Maya thought about how to explain. Predators always weigh risk against reward. If the risk seems too high, they look for easier prey. Jake was reviewing the sensor logs. The pirates were clearly prepared for a standard engagement, but they were not prepared for psychological warfare. It was not psychological warfare, Maya said. It was just making sure they understood what they were facing. Over the next 3 months, similar encounters played out across the sector. Pirate fleets would approach human-protected. Convoys realize what they were facing and choose to attack easier targets instead. The convoy attack rate in the Kepler sector dropped by 85%. Word spread quickly through both military and criminal networks. The humans were not just competent defenders, they were something new and dangerous. Pirates began sharing information about which convoys to avoid, and human-protected became synonymous with too dangerous to attack. Maya received a new assignment, establishing a training program for other Defense Force officers. Her job was to teach alien military personnel how to think like humans, how to turn disadvantage into advantage, and how to make enemies reconsider their actions. The training center was located on a space station at the edge of explored space. Officers from dozens of different species came to learn what were becoming known as human tactics. Today we are going to learn about adaptive thinking. Maya told her first class of 30 alien officers. Most species develop military doctrine based on their natural advantages. Humans develop tactics based on having no natural advantages. She gestured to a holographic display showing various Earth predators. For millions of years, humans were prey animals. We were slower than wolves, weaker than bears, less venomous than snakes. But we survived by being smarter, more adaptable, and more willing to take calculated risks. One of the students, a heavily armored officer from a high-gravity world, raised his hand. How does being weak make you dangerous? Because when you cannot rely on strength, you learn to rely on everything else, Maya replied. Humans became dangerous not despite our weaknesses, but because of them. She spent the next several hours teaching concepts that came naturally to humans, but were revolutionary to other species. Using environment as a weapon, turning enemy strengths against them, creating psychological pressure to avoid fights altogether. Students struggled with ideas that seemed counterintuitive. Why would you choose a more difficult approach when you had superior firepower? Why would you try to avoid fighting when you were confident you could win? Because every fight has costs, Maya explained. Even when you win, you lose resources, time, and potentially crew members. The best victory is the one where your enemy decides not to fight you at all. By the end of the training program, the alien officers were thinking differently about conflict and strategy. They began implementing human-inspired tactics in their own operations with remarkable success. Maya's reputation continued to grow. She became known throughout the Defense Force as the human who could solve problems that seemed impossible. Her methods were studied at military academies across the galaxy, but the most important change was not in military doctrine. It was in how other species viewed humans. Earth was no longer seen as a backward world trying to catch up with galactic civilization. It was recognized as the source of strategic thinking that could change the balance of power in the galaxy. Jake was promoted to captain and given command of his own vessel. Zara became the first non-human officer to request assignment to a primarily human crew. Other Academy graduates specifically asked to serve under human commanders. The reputation that Maya had earned through her actions was now protecting human interests throughout the galaxy. Pirates avoided human-protected targets. Aggressive species thought twice before threatening human colonies. The name Deathworld Human had become a warning that spread fear among those who threatened galactic peace. Maya realized that she had accomplished something more important than she had ever imagined. She had not just proven that humans could contribute to galactic society. She had shown that humans brought something essential that had been missing from galactic defense strategy. Standing on the bridge of her new command, the heavy cruiser, Terra's Pride, Maya looked out at the stars and thought about how far she had come from that nervous cadet arriving at the academy. She had started as someone just trying to fit in, trying to prove she belonged. Now she was someone who made predators think twice before attacking. And that reputation was protecting not just her, but every human who followed in her footsteps.